So we are unfortunately back at it again at Krispy Kreme. If you've been here before, you know I don't like these events. If you're new, now you know. Also, hi, I'm Mari. But yeah, although I do think the battle map events from this point on are a little more manageable, I can't say that it's like that much of an improvement, or that it's overall just a better experience. I've already explained these events in detail before, so if you already know what's up, skip to the timestamp on screen and in the description box so you can hear me talk about the maps. If this is your first battle map event, well, first off, I'm so sorry, but second, don't worry, I'll explain the mechanics again so you know what's going on. So this event has maps with tiles on them, and those tiles have a battle. If you play through Chapter 7, you're already familiar with battle maps. If you haven't, it's basically just a glob of battles to get through with a final boss, Crewel, who's at the way end. In order to get to Crewel, you have to work your way across the battle map, beating every battle on every tile you pick. These battles all require a victory, so they all have infinite turns. If your team loses a battle, you have to pick a new team and go back into the battle. The enemy's HP doesn't reset though, so that's nice. If you get an enemy down to 10,000 HP from 40,000, but you lose, in the next attempt the enemy will have 10,000 HP still. One of the few mercies of this event. In order to go from tile to tile though, in addition to winning, you need to use energy or move tickets. You can't speedrun the maps easily. You have to use one energy or one move ticket to challenge a space in the first place. The amount of energy you can have at one time is 10, but you can have loads of move tickets as you earn them from completing missions, from completing certain tiles, etc. It takes an hour for one energy to regenerate on its own, so you're going to be using a lot of move tickets. That's fine though, move tickets do carry over from event to event, but I'm going to be honest, it's not super difficult to get them, so I'd say not to worry about saving them. It's not like retry tickets. Crewel is the event card this time around, so if you manage to pull him, he'll be a guest unit for you to use. If you don't pull him though, you don't get to use him. It's just an extra thing for people who got him. Also, if you do want to use him in this event and you got him, make sure to build him immediately. The game uses your Crewel, so if he's level 2, he's level 2 for the event. There's a total of 7 maps for us to get through. Maps can have 1 to 3 mini-bosses and then one final boss, which for this event is Crewel, like I've been saying. The number of tiles varies greatly between maps, so I'll discuss them a bit later. In my last video, I advised heavily against making a beeline for the boss. I still stand by that to an extent, but now that I have 4 of these events under my belt, I do think it's a bit more complicated. The reasons I don't think you should rush to Crewel is because if you don't do all the tiles in a map and you beat it, you don't get all the rewards. The map resets, so you have to go back in to do all the tiles you missed. Winning a map doesn't mean you get all the rewards, it just means you get the rewards for the tiles you beat. So theoretically, you would have to waste your time going back in when you could have taken your time in the first place and maybe gotten it done a little faster. This is a limited time event and the time frame is so short that you really need to be careful about how you're spending your time. So going back and redoing a map multiple times is a little sketch, you know? The other reason is some tiles on the map will give you buffs against the boss, and since the bosses are usually a pretty high difficulty, these are really helpful. You may have to go out of your way to get them, so if you're heading straight to the boss, you might miss them. For the easier maps, this isn't really a make or break point, but I think for the higher level ones, it would be a bad decision to miss these buff tiles. Like I said, I think this isn't as cut and dry anymore. I do think you should take your time within reason, but I think that applies more to the lower level maps. I think going through all or most of the tiles for maps you know you can do is the better choice. But admittedly, as the maps get harder, the strategy becomes less viable. Battles could end up taking a lot of teams of sacrificial lambs, so you do have to pick and choose what tiles to do, in addition to making sure you have enough units for the boss. I think my new advice would be do all the tiles and maps where you're having an easy time, but when you start to struggle beating mini-bosses or just regular tiles, that means it's time to start being more selective about what battles to pick. One piece of advice that hasn't changed though is think about your priorities for this event before you go into it. These events are difficult. I would not call my roster on JP bad by any stretch, and I have yet to beat a battle map event. I have gotten to the final map, twice actually, but I've never beaten the map 7 boss or mini-bosses of any event. I'm not saying this to scare you, I'm telling you this because I want you to be prepared and have some sort of expectation going in. Also, I just realized I did not put this anywhere in my guide, whoops. But it looks like EN is not making this event easier. Sometimes EN will, lower, amounts needed to unlock cards or whatever, or they'll make things a little bit easier when it comes to events. They are not doing that for these, so, be prepared. I know most people are gonna want to finish the event. Last JP event, I got really close to beating map 7 and it felt awful that I wasn't able to beat Train. But these events are very difficult and you need to ask yourself why you're playing this event. Are you doing it for the rewards? Are you doing it for fun? Are you doing it for the title? All of these are valid reasons to play, but they're gonna impact how you play this event. If you're playing for rewards, at some point you're gonna have to quit unless you have an insanely good card roster with everyone fully built or something. The game gives you rare rewards like SSR Awakening Perfumes and retry tickets. You're going to want to try and keep enough units around for the boss, but also make sure you hit all the tiles with the rewards you want. If you're doing this for the title, you're going to need to be extremely strategic and planning moves ahead of time to ensure you have the best chance of getting to and beating map 7. You're probably not going to want to go through every tile on the map, even less difficult ones, because you need to make sure you have everything ready for the map 7 boss. This event is a giant time sink, so you're going to have to save up as many move tickets as possible for the final map or two, just to ensure you have enough time. Higher level maps can have really stupid layouts, so 1, you're gonna need to ensure you have as many chances to beat enemies as possible, but also 2, make sure you have enough stuff to be able to traverse the map in a good time. Period. Some maps really make you go out of the way. If you're doing this for fun, there's nothing really to say, you're just having fun. So yeah, with that out of the way, let's talk about each map individually. As a reminder, I'll have these maps and tables giving important details of the tiles on my blog, which will be linked below. I'm not going to go over every single tile just because I don't want to be here for hours, but we'll cover the basics of each map. Map 1, which is set in Ignihide, has 10 tiles. You will need to pick 5 characters for your team. Our special tiles are 9, which heals you, 4, which gives you a modest damage boost, and 3, which rewards a modest damage cut to boss. That one does have a battle attached to it though, so it's not a freebie like the other one. The average HP for every battle is 22,738, and the average difficulty is 2.5. If we want to get technical, 5 of the battles are a 1 or 2, and the other 3 are above that. So overall, not too high in difficulty. Enemy buffs that are in this map are healing, debuff removal, and crit chance. I don't remember what EN calls that. When it comes to element distribution, fire, water, and flora are all at 30.4%. You won't encounter that much void, but the others are very likely. In fact, most battles for this map are those 3 elements. The only ones that aren't like that are 3 and 10. And 10 doesn't super count because it has those elements, but it also has void. Tile 10 is the boss tile, so it makes sense he has every element. A word of warning though, in my notes I put Crewel has crit chance and healing, but the game only tells you he has healing. So just as a heads up, remember that he can and will crit. Map 2 is in Diasomnia and it has 20 tiles. You will need to pick 5 characters for your team. The special tiles in this map are 17, which is healing, 4, which gives you Nullify Freeze for 3 turns, 9, minor power boost, 20, modest resistance, and 11, minor blind for 3 turns, specifically for the boss fight. That last one has a battle attached to it. The average HP for a battle is 23,833, and the average difficulty is 2.6. Most battles are going to be at a 2 or a 3 for this map. Enemy buffs for this map are Freeze, Healing, Curse, Guts, which I don't remember what that's called in EN. I think it's Metal, but I don't remember. And Crit Chance. My note for this map is, quote, "This bitch is critting constantly." Element distribution for this map is way more varied than the last. You're more likely to encounter a fire or void spell than water or flora, although those are still present. There are 16 battles in this map, and half of them have a fire spell in there. 7 have voids, so just barely under half. But yeah, I would make sure to have some strong water units or units that have at least 1 water spell on the team. These battles, except for 6 and 15, are not straight fire battles, so you don't necessarily need loads of mono water units for this map, but keep in mind there's a lot of enemy fire units. Tile 1 is the boss tile. He has all spell elements, like the last time, but his skills are a bit different this time. He still has crit, but now he has freeze and curse. Map 3, which is set in Heart's Lobule, has 25 tiles. You'll get to pick 6 characters for your team. Healing tiles are 7 and 15, so yay, we finally have 2. Other special tiles are 2 with a modest power drain to the boss, 4 which gives Nullified Blind, 20 which gives a minor HP regeneration, and 21 which gives a minor power drain to the boss. 2 and 21 both have battles attached to them, so the buffs are rewards for clearing those tiles. The others give them out for free though, so that's nice. I'll never say no to free healing. The average HP for battles is 27,200 and the average difficulty is 2.7. 8 out of the 21 battles are a 3, but we have a fair amount of 1s and 2s. So while there's a solid chunk of 3s, it's not the majority, it's not half of the battles or something like that. Element distribution for this map is the most even out of all the maps so far, which, with all elements being around 25% give or take, so I can't say to focus on one element when it comes to team building. The boss tile is 25, Crewel has curse and debuff removal from the last map, but now he has blind. Also in my notes, I said I think he'd have crit still, but I didn't make a note of whether he did actually still have crit. He doesn't actually have crit in the other maps as far as my notes suggest, so I would guess he didn't in the end, but I'm not sure. Also, it is totally possible that he still has crit in the other maps and I just stopped putting it because I got tired. I think preparing for the worst would be your best bet here. Map 4 is in Savannah Claw and it has 30 tiles. Like last time, you'll need to pick 6 characters. Healing tiles are 8 and 27. Debuff tiles are 7 with a modest power boost, 9 with minor burn for 3 turns for the boss fight, 19 with freeze for 3 turns, and 30 which has a tremendous void damage cut to the boss. 9 and 30 both have battles on them. The average HP for battles is 38,603, and the average difficulty is 2.8. Battles are mostly 2s and 3s, with 3s being more common with 9 battles. There's 8 2 battles though, so, not by that much, but still. There's a few 1s, but you're mostly going to be seeing 2 and above here. The debuffs you'll encounter in this map are healing, curse, guts, evasion, debuff removal, and elemental immunity, which I had to look that one up on the WikiGG Wikia because I wrote a literal translation in my notes and I didn't know what that was. But those will be the debuffs you'll run into, with a load of fights having healing. 11 out of 21 have it, so yeah. The element distribution isn't super crazy. Everything is around 25%, so again, there's not really one element to focus on. Tile 13 is the boss tile. He still has all elements, and his debuffs this time around are healing, evasion, and debuff removal. A terrible combo, so make sure you bring a lot of healers because this fight is kind of terrible. Map 5 is set in Octagonal and has 35 tiles. You'll pick 7 characters to build teams out of. Healing tiles for this map are 26 and 32. Buff tiles are 2 with major vulnerability to the boss, 5 with a major power boost, 15 with tremendous vulnerability to the boss, 33 with minor burn for 3 turns, 34 with another minor burn for 3 turns, but this time it's boss only, and 35 with, you guessed it, minor burn for 3 turns. 2 and 34 have battles attached to them. Average enemy HP for this map is 41,443, and average difficulty is 2.6. Most, 17, battles are going to be in the 2 to 3 range. Everything else is a 1, 4, or 5, with there being almost equal amounts of 1 and 4. The debuffs for this map are debuff removal, blind, healing, curse, and elemental immunity. Again, that last one from the WikiGG Wikia. When it comes to elements, things are mostly balanced. Flora is almost 2% higher, but everything is still around a quarter, and that percentage is so small that I don't think it's necessarily something to heavily plan around. Tile 7 is the boss tile. Not much has changed. He still has debuff removal, but now he has elemental immunity instead of the other stuff, so OG, to be honest. Map 6, set in Scarabia, has 40 tiles. I know for the last event I complained about that map 6. This one is way harder. Way, way, way harder. I absolutely hate this map. It's fucking awful. For starters, it's the second to last map, so it's gonna be hard anyways. But this is worse than the last map 6 because of the layout. There's strings of single tile paths, so getting around is super difficult. This is hands down one of the worst battle maps in the game, period. Although there's some in the train battle map event that are just as bad. But anyways, back to the guide. You'll need to choose 7 characters for this map. Healing tiles are 11, 24, and 40. Glad we have 3 this time around. Special buff tiles are 2 with minor evasion, 4 with nullify curse, 7 with modest blind for 3 turns for the boss battle, 27 with nullify freeze, 30 with another major blind for 3 turns for the boss, and 36 with a major power drain. 7 and 30 have fights attached to them, but every other tile is a freebie. Average enemy HP is 46,203, and average difficulty is 2.8. Most of the battles will be either a 2 or a 3, and that accounts for 19 battles. Everything else combined makes up the other 14. Debuffs for this map are Curse, Guts, Healing, Freeze, and Evasion. Elemental distribution is more skewed to Flora spells, with that being 29.9%. Everything else ranges from 20 to 25%, so that's something to consider. You may want to pick characters that have a lot of fire spells at their disposal. Crewel's boss fight is on tile 13. He has Curse and Freeze as skills, and his HP finally hits that 6-digit mark at 108,750. I hate it too. Map 7, Set in Pumfiore, has 45 spaces. You'll need to choose 10 characters for team building. Also, a quick note before we get started. Tile info for 35, 42, and 43 are from Twistsoku and the Twist Wiki GG Wikia, just as a heads up. Healing tiles are 5, 8, and 28. Buff tiles are the following. 1 with major crit chance, 12 and 13 both with a tremendous damage cut to the boss, 19 with a tremendous power boost, 41 with freeze for 3 turns, and 44 with a tremendous damage cut to the boss. All of them are freebies except 12, 13, and 44. Average enemy HP for this map is 65,018, and that is not counting the 2 battles that are in the 6-digit range. With those included, it's 69,000 something, but because those battles are so drastically higher than the other battles, I decided to leave them out of the average this time since they're extreme outliers. The average difficulty for this map is 3.1. Most battles will be a 3 or a 4. There's a bit of 2s, but 3 to 4 make up 26 of the battles, 1 to 2 is 10. So yeah, it's mostly gonna be 3s and 4s for this map. Debuffs on this map are Healing, Evasion, Guts, Blind, Burn, and debuff removal. This map skews more towards Water and Void, with those being 29 and 27.5% respectively. The other elements are 18 to 24.6%, so yeah, that's a noticeable difference. However, I want to note that Void is paired up with a lot of elements, so well yeah, there's some Void-only battles. Most of the times it's Void and then 1 or 2 other elements. The final battle is tile 36. Crewel's only skill, allegedly, again, I don't know if I just stopped recording crit because he kept doing it, but he has debuff removal, and that is theoretically his only skill. I hope it's his only skill. God, I can't believe that I didn't put that down. His HP is 169,500. At least part of it is the funny number. I guess that's something of a consolation. If you'd like to see the specifics of these maps in table format, I have that on my blog. The link will be in the description. I wish you all luck with this event. We can do this. Before I go, I'd like to thank my ladyfingers in waiting for supporting me and allowing me to continue to do this. A big thank you and telepathic snacky treat to MeatScout2189, Visa, Omimi, Eel, Annette, Kayla, Richter32, Yungumo, Crabjail, Lady Lunarine, Ukaku, Yosa the Kiseki, and Farafo. Thank you guys. And if you've made it this far, thank you. Once again, good luck, and I'll see y'all later.